how well do you and your horse really know each other? And I'm talking about now the ins and outs, the nitty gritty, okay? If you guys could, well, you can, but if your horse could talk about your relationship with each other right now, what would he say? You see, having a connection with your horse is really, really important. In fact, I think that this is often the part that kind of caps a lot of riders when it comes to their training and how well they do. They're willing to put in all the time in the saddle, but I think sometimes getting out of the saddle and actually spending quality time with your horse can be the key to unlocking a better relationship. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is Lorna Leeson. I'm an equestrian trainer and coach, and I work with riders from all over the world, especially riders working on their own without a trainer or coach, to help them go from being bored and maybe even stuck to having a plan and working with their horse. And today I want to talk about one of those important fundamental pieces to working with your horse, and that is building the connection and building the partnership. You see, so many riders, they can get caught up in the training, okay? And training's important. If that's where you want to go with your relationship and with your riding journey, yes, of course, training is important. However, it's not the be-all, end-all of it. I preach around these parts that you also have to include fun, and you definitely have to include partnership when it comes to actually planning out your rides and looking for activities, exercises, movements, and things to do with your horse. And I think for many riders, the partnership element is the one that we don't really go deep enough with, okay? And just like any relationship you have in your life right now, your horse and your relationship with your horse will really depend on what you're putting into it with regards to what you're going to get out, okay? And I do think that there is definitely a correlation between how successful, and I'm not talking about competitive success, okay, I'm talking about just you and your horse working together. There's a definite correlation between how successful your partnership is and how much time you're putting into strengthening and developing the bond or partnership that you have with your horse. It's really, really important. So what I'd love to do today is just to encourage you to begin to go a little bit deeper. And, you know, so often riders say, okay, well, I've done that, like, gone as deep as I can go. No, you haven't. You never have. You can always go further. So if you're feeling like, no, I've been there, done that, I'm going to really and truly, I'm going to test you now, okay? You're going to set up a little challenge for yourself to see how much deeper you can go with your horse. So I think the first part of this is to get really, really clear on what you expect to happen. So often as riders, we actually are not clear at all on our expectations. How often has something happened and you're it's only because the thing happened and it's not the thing you want to have happened that you're suddenly like crystal clear, I do not want that to happen again. Maybe your horse stepped on your toe, maybe your horse threw you off, maybe he bit you, whatever, okay? There's all these things that can happen and they never kind of really, we never think about them until they happen. And then we suddenly realize, hold on, like that, no, okay? So I want you to start thinking about your expectations when it comes to your horse, okay? Like, what do you hope to achieve? Maybe your focus is on competitive, kind of the side of things and competitions and performance, okay? Maybe you want to focus on building a partnership, or maybe it's just having fun together and enjoying time, okay? But what is important to know is that whatever your expectations are, that is going to really and truly reflect how you then approach that topic and that subject, okay? So it is important to get clear on that. Now, I think the other reason we have to be clear when it comes to our expectations and what we actually want is because your horse, have you noticed horses, they're kind of like mind readers, okay? They're very, very intuitive. And very often they respond to the different maybe energy and the emotions that we bring to the table, okay? And I often think that, and I've seen this time and again play out, many of the challenges that riders have, and whether they're behavioral or training, whatever, okay? Many of them are actually the horse responding to the rider, okay, and to how the rider is, okay, and then they can really and truly be traced to that. So I think it's really, really important to get clear on your expectations and then to begin to approach each interaction with your horse from that, like really and truly become more self-aware. Think about, okay, what are my feelings? What are my thoughts? What are my emotions? What are my beliefs right now regarding all of this? And what am I bringing to the conversation? Because again, you can think you're kind of doing one thing, but your horse knows, They just know. And if that's the case, I think things won't go the way you would like them to go. So it's important. Now, from that, I think we have to understand that any relationship, any good relationship, is built on consistency. And that consistency that your horse can, first of all, trust you to show up, but also trust how you're going to show up, okay? How you're going to work with him, okay? You cannot kind of keep picking and choosing. And I see, especially with all the different approaches to things that we see every day of the week on the internet, and that so many riders, they're kind of like picking and choosing, and they're never staying with anything really long enough to develop a relationship with their horse through that thing, okay? But they keep like chopping and changing, picking and choosing. And then they say nothing works. Now, well, of course it's not going to work. You keep changing it, okay? Now, is this to say you should never, ever, ever kind of, move out of your track or move out of your lane? No, of course not. But do be very, very strategic about it. And I think that you need to have like almost this baseline. I would always say to my riders that I think it's a good idea to work with a couple of different trainers, coaches, instructors, and whether that's in person or online, working with different people, and then from that build your own style. Begin developing your style as an equestrian, and that style, that unique blend that's you, that will be what your horse will begin to see as being consistent and begin to, I suppose, expect when you show up, okay? So this can come down to like grooming, leading, how you tack up, obviously how you ride, okay? But all of these things, when you're consistent through how you do things, your horse will know what to expect. And this definitely leads to a more relaxed horse, okay? A horse that is more engaged in the conversation. Now, the third part to building the connection with your horse is to actually be open to your horse's feedback. It is not a monologue, hey? It's a conversation. So I think that we have to understand that just like we, the riders, have expectations, they, the horses, also do, hey? And remember, they don't have maybe a way of expressing or communicating those expectations as clearly as we have. Or they're probably thinking, idiots can't understand a word I'm saying. Like, you can imagine the horse, the top horse that understands people saying it to all the other horses in the field. Listen, they're really silly. They don't understand the body language thing. They don't get it. Okay, we're trying our best to communicate. We need to go slowly with these people. But yeah, I think it's really, really important to understand that your horse has feedback and that you need to be open and attentive to that feedback. Okay, when you can begin to identify how your horse is providing feedback. And I would go so far as to say that just like us, all horses are individuals and they provide feedback in their own unique blend of ways, okay? But when you can begin to notice the difference, you can actually begin to tweak your approach. And very often these little tweaks are all that's needed to actually transform things. So with your horse, these could be physical cues like, what their ears are doing, kind of horse 101, hey? The tail, okay? Sometimes it's just the weight, how the weight is distributed through the body. Sometimes you can just look at their face and you can kind of be like, whew, okay, I see that. It could be changed in the gait, but it can also show up as resistance and maybe even behavioral issues or challenges, like a reluctance to engage with you, a reluctance to work within the partnership. Look, horse riding is a team sport, and that means that it's your responsibility to listen to what your horse is trying to tell you and then to respond accordingly, okay? When your horse understands that he has a say in things, that you're actually open and willing and listening to what he's saying, that builds his trust in you. It builds his trust in your partnership. So it's really, really important to do that. It's not a monologue, it's a conversation, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, my fourth suggestion, always my suggestion, is groundwork. I do love groundwork, okay? Groundwork is absolutely essential. It's the bookends to every single thing you do with your horse. You will start on the ground, you'll end on the ground. And I think that the more intentional we can be with our groundwork, the more that everything else will improve, because there's a lot of riders out there who don't see this as being important. And of course, the irony to that is that the more you kind of become intentional and focused with the groundwork, the actual better it'll help and the more it'll help your riding. But yeah, I do think that whether you're leading, you're lunging, you're long lining, you're maybe practicing natural horsemanship, practicing different exercises in the arena, once your horse is aware of your presence, the conversation has begun. And that's usually on the ground, okay? It's almost always on the ground. Like, you can't just click your fingers and sit on his back, okay? So it's always on the ground, the conversation's begun. So begin thinking about the body language we spoke about just now. Begin thinking about that, okay? When you then kind of couple that with listening to your horse's feedback, you're actually going to be able to improve your aids immediately, because your horse is giving you immediate feedback, and you can begin to improve yourself as a rider, as an equestrian immediately, okay? I also think that groundwork, it definitely helps to clarify the expectations we spoke about earlier, and also to not only identify, but to enforce the boundaries, okay? And I just find it so helpful with refining things. Like, you can refine so much on the ground, and then of course bring that across to the saddle with you. And my final tip is be consistent, be patient, and give it time. It's going to take time. It's never an overnight thing, okay? You and your horse are going to need time. And yeah, you may get, like, every single session with your horse like an aha moment, a breakthrough moment, but it's the consistency of those that's actually eventually going to move the needle and to change things for you and your horse, okay? I think if we rush this process, if we like go in and be like, we're going to build connection, that's it. It's a bit like an arranged marriage or something, okay? Yeah, every now and then it'll pan out, but like for the most part, no. Okay, somebody's not going to be happy. So I think that it's really, really important that you are like approaching this the right way, and you're approaching it and giving your horse options as well, okay? Like, enjoy it. Enjoy every single interaction, every ride, every groundwork session, okay? And then extend your patience and your compassion and your curiosity and all those fun things. Extend it all to yourself as well, and notice that some days you're going to get things wrong, and that's fine. It's absolutely perfect. It's 100%. Okay? Then you know what you're doing wrong, and you can tweak and make changes and do it again. If you are keen to go deeper into this, I actually have a 4-week email program that you can get your hands on. It's called the Connection Partnership Program. It's actually based on a program we had in real life, an in-person program here. But yeah, we turned it into a digital program. People have gotten amazing results with it, both the in-person and the online. It is very, very, very good. So I'm going to suggest, if you're interested in that, to pop on over and get all the details for the program over at stridesforsuccess.com/CPP. I'll put a link in the notes section here, so you can just click ahead and join us there. Okay, I hope you have a super day. Keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.